When dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production where we take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. We're live on brainstormradio.net every second Friday, and today is May 11th, 2018. I'm Cory, and I'm still joined by Brandon.
Hello.
Lisa.
I have a Fitbit.
Angela.
I also have a Fitbit.
Renee.
Hello. I don't.
And the amazing Dave.
I'm eating berries.
Thank you, Dave.
Sweet as berries.
I also have a Fitbit.
Cory's got a Fitbit.
And me and Cory and Angela are Fitbit friends. What?
We can challenge each other.
We could challenge each
Are
other.
they sponsoring us for this?
It feels
You're not
it's-
They
receiving.
should.
It's
They
It
should.
tracks your fucking period cycle.
Boys.
It's fucking amazing.
Mine
starting-
doesn't.
Change your gender, baby. Change your gender.
It's
What the fuck?
it's starting to feel like it is sponsored by.
Although I do really take advantage of the sleep tracking.
That's the coolest thing
Yeah,
about
it's pretty awesome.
I average 6.5 hours a night.
Lucky get.
it. You're doing better than me. No,
That's
you're doing
low.
slightly worse than me.
6.5?
Yeah.
That's low.
No, you're doing better than me.
That's better than a year ago, and that was better. Like
5
a year
hours
ago,
and
I
50
was-
minutes.
Yeah,
Not so good.
not so good. A year ago, I was averaging 5.5, and a year before that, I was averaging 5 or less.
It makes you think about it. Like, have I
Yeah.
really only taken seven staircases today? I should take another one.
Right, eh?
I don't have any stock in them. I just bought it though, and I'm excited about it.
What's your Fitbit goal set at?
Which one?
Your daily goal for steps?
Like steps, yeah.
I had it at 8,000 and I passed that like at 11 a.m. So then I changed it
Yeah.
to 10 and now I'm at 12,000 something. So.
There you go.
Sweet. Mine's 6, and I think I hit that 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, there's a giant department and I feel like my office is on one end and the Linux
See,
are on
there
the
you
other end.
go.
So I just run back and forth and then I go running at lunch and then that puts 5,000 on there. So
I used to have it at 10,000, and then I hit it too often. And then I was going to the gym at that time too.
Yeah.
And so I set it for 13,000, and then I never hit it. Like I haven't hit my
it's
step
too
goal
high.
in
make it
ever.
lower, make it more reasonable. Okay, I have a question though. I'm so sorry. I know the rec table's over, and I'm derailing. Is there an actual correlation between number of steps and health? Or is that just bullshit?
It's just bullshit.
Okay. So I know that there's definitely a correlation with too much sitting and poor health outcomes. That's definitely true. So getting up
Yeah.
every hour, whatever, is good for better health. That's actually
The
demonstrated.
one thing that's good about
But-
the Fitbit too is if for people that are sedentary, the people that don't move around a lot, it reminds you at 10 minutes to the hour, it's like, let's make sure you're getting 250 steps per hour.
Yeah. You
'Cause,
haven't walked this hour.
yeah, maybe you should think about going to the bathroom or,
At least
Yeah, it just
getting up
buzzes
off
like
your
you
ass.
have
some
to poop.
water.
You have to poop. It just tells you.
Just don't tell me what to do.
Or just shake it really fast and then it thinks you're doing steps.
Yeah,
Is that true?
sometimes.
Probably.
Sometimes if I'm
Sometimes.
driving and on a really rough road, I'll collect a lot of steps.
I saw
Angela,
a
do you
comedian
think
talk about the Fitbit, and it was a whole bit, but he was like,
A Fitbit bit?
yes, and he's saying how it narked on him because his girlfriend was watching with,
You're bad.
and it's like you weren't doing this, and then the one day she's like, "Well, good for you, you accomplished your goals," and I'm like, I wasn't doing anything. I was just watching porn. Forgot to shut it off. But the secret is I learned how to do it. I learned how to do a.
That's why you wear it on your non-dominant hand.
I learned how to do a 2-minute mile.
2-minute mile. That's some efficiency.
That's very vigorous.
Yeah.
Does that work for women too?
I
That's why
have
you
no
wear
idea.
it on your non-dominant hand.
I had to switch it. I had it on my non-dominant hand because
Total derail. You're welcome.
I think Angela was actually starting a different subject and not talking about what you guys are thinking she's talking about.
it's good to switch it up because then it feels like it's not you, right?
Oh no, she was
Just
talking
like when you sit on your hand.
Yes, just like that. That's
And then
right.
it's
the stranger.
the stranger.
That's right.
Gotta switch it up now and again. I wasn't gonna go
I
there,
love
but I was
you,
like,
Angela.
fuck it, I'm going there.
I love you so much.
You're laughing and I didn't really say anything, but
Going, gone.
Okay.
But Angela can do it because she's the best.
There you go.
I'm above reproach.
Yes.
I am blameless in all things. So what are we gonna do now, Corey?
The Woo Report.
Okay. Let's do
Thank
woo.
you for asking.
You're welcome. Our fearless leader, Corey.
All right, Dave.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science...
We got her twice.
It repeated it for some reason.
Well, that's because the Earth is flat and it's like
happened there?
Pac-Man. It just like goes from when this starts again.
Right. All right,
We'll get
Brandon.
there.
I think you're starting.
I could do that for you.
What do you got?
Rabies apparently cures
Oh, yes.
agitated children.
How does that work?
Interesting.
I heard about this.
The magic of homeopathy.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Well, sorry, I kind of jumped ahead there. I'm not entirely sure if it's homeopathic. If they claim it's homeopathic. So the BC Naturopathic Association has filed a complaint against a Victoria practitioner who said she treated a 4-year-old's aggression problems with a homeopathic, there it is, remedy
Right.
made from rabid dog saliva. As in rabies, as in the thing that is the disease or affliction that is essentially considered really hard to cure
Right.
if you get it. Yeah, so
don't do that.
no.
You don't want to old yeller that shit.
The woman, Anke, the woman Anke Zimmerman made headlines this week
I said don't, goddammit.
for
See, I'm not advocating.
Very late term abortion.
It's too soon to bring up Old Yeller.
Imagine.
It's only been like 50 years since that movie came out.
That's true. Spoilers.
spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
All right.
So
Keep going.
this woman had made a blog post where she claimed to cure this child's aggression problems with her homeopathic reduction made from rabid dog saliva.
Okay.
For those who are hearing about homeopathy for the first time, it's essentially a series of steps of massive amounts of dilution with the idea that if something causes something, a certain other amount of it can cure something. The idea being rabies being an excessive amount of aggression could cure a little bit of aggression, relatively
But
speaking.
only if it's diluted till there's no rabies left in the
Effectively
formula.
nothing.
So would you say that's a delusion surrounding dilution?
Yes.
Stop.
I'm so fired on this podcast.
Okay, we might have to bring back the sound effects. We need the train train derailment sound
Yes.
and the wah wah or the rim shot, right? Boom.
I do find it mildly amusing that the Naturopathic Association is the one that filed the complaint against this woman. But that's a different story. Just because naturopathy doesn't have the greatest record there.
No, it does not.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, witchery is our thing.
You're making pseudoscience look bad.
Yeah. So
Yes.
That's our woo.
That's right.
So essentially, she claimed to, but she never filed any testing. She never basically did anything sort of to certify it as a treatment. She just claimed she did, or rather, she claimed that it worked.
Okay.
She is not a member of the association that's filing complaint against her, so it's become a matter of semi-public record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what association is she a member of that they're filing a complaint with?
She might be effectively an independent or self-titled homeopath.
So what kind of complaint is being filed? That seems really weird.
It's essentially just a complaint name. It
I'm
doesn't
just
appear
complaining.
To be, well, I mean, it's an official complaint. It's on paper.
Complaint.
Here's your notice. We're complaining about you.
Okay. It was a letter mailed from the Naturopathic Society.
I would be concerned that if she wouldn't adequately dilute it, or or it's contaminated, that you would actually give a child.
Yeah,
right?
you don't
that
want
would
to
be my
actually
fear.
inject or give.
You would think some public health authority would intervene.
It gets better though. Zimmerman, not a member of this association. However, the college, which is a separate regulatory body for the profession, has described the remedy as an acceptable treatment.
Oh?
Yeah.
Just that she shouldn't be allowed to do it because she wasn't a member.
Because you're not a
member. Okay.
Now, Lecinium, as they call it, or so Lecinium, which is also known as lysine and hydrophobinum, is made by repeatedly diluting the saliva of rabid dog in water and alcohol, and is also approved for use by Health Canada.
Well, of course it is. Health Canada is notoriously bad at checking up on this stuff. They,
Are you serious? Because at work, we often can't use the newest software version because they take like 3 years to review something. Like anything medical related, we're super behind the States oftentimes, like by a year or 2 or 3, because they haven't approved it because they're so careful to make sure it's something they can allow.
Unless it's, CBC did a thing where they photocopied a bunch of pages. Like it was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, where they photocopied a bunch of pages. And sent it in. This is the formula for our homeopathic remedy, and it got approved in minutes.
Wow.
They are when it comes to this kind of wooey shit. Health Canada is just.
But how
terrible.
come they're not like that for real medicine?
I have no idea.
Because the rigors assigned to real medicine are different than those assigned to our homeopathic remedies. It's essentially health. It's not good, but it's essentially a Health Canada already assuming that, no, you can't actually hurt anybody with this. You also can't heal anybody with this. It's still just fucking stupid.
But it is harmful to not treat something, right? Like to.
Agreed.
Yeah, if you're using this in lieu of an actual treatment or remedy, you're essentially allowing harm to continue.
I think that the regulation may not take that into account. They may not recognize like the potential harm if somebody chooses this bullshit remedy over a real remedy. They're just going like, oh, well, it's not poison.
Yeah. Now, it gets a little better because there's actually a further expansion of the symptoms described here.
Okay.
Yeah. She wrote about a case involving a boy who was violent towards classmates, had trouble sleeping, and experienced nightmares about werewolves and wolves. So, of course, dogs.
Right.
Yeah. Because as per usual, homeopathy, like cures like, according to them.
Right. So aggressive thing.
Yeah.
Treats aggressiveness.
Never mind the fact that, yes, if the child had been exposed to a sufficiently strong dose of the pathogen causing rabies, there's a good chance he'd be dead right now.
Well, I mean, luckily it's homeopathic, so there's nothing left in it by the time there.
Yeah.
That's the only really saving grace to this.
Okay, here we go. Okay, hang on, guys. Let's say I take, I don't know, hamburger contaminated with E. coli, okay, and put it in a container. Okay. Then I rinse it out really, really, really well, okay, and fill it with water. Would you give that to your child to drink?
No, but if you rinse that container out 1,000,000 times, and then
we don't do it 1,000,000 times. They dilute something. Right. To it so that it's 1,000,000th because it's an exponential decay. I mean, you can't actually do something 1,000,000 times. It would take too long.
But it would be like 100 times, or like if you did it 20 times
with exponential decay, I don't think it would take that many times before you would have, if I rinse it out, I don't know, 10 times. It's probably about equivalent about 1,000,000. So I wouldn't let my kid drink from it because the risk that there's a small amount of E. coli would not worth the benefit of drinking from this thing when I can just, wash it with actual soap and clean that stuff off for real. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
But they did the magic tappy thing on the leather book.
I'm just saying. Like at my work, we worry about things like small, 1
You're not
giving
a
somebody C.
doctor or
difficile or something
homeopath.
from, so we use, the bleach wipes in that case instead of something, like we're
Right. Yeah.
like you worry.
Something very small can make a big difference.
That's what I'm
Since
saying.
you mentioned the tapping, though, I just wanted to share that with our listeners too, about how the chief claim of homeopathy is that if you expose a volume of water to something, and then you tap it in the right way, and then you dilute it, the water remembers that it had it, but doesn't actually have it in anymore.
Yeah.
It's like phantom effects of stuff that was in the water.
Yeah. It's memory.
Yeah. Never mind.
Water has memory.
They have shown that water will cluster, but not for any significant period of time, or relative to, or that the clustering can have an effect. So there. But yeah, hopefully she's discouraged from doing this in the future, and maybe Health Canada reconsiders the licensing of Lycinum.
Hopefully. All right. Let's move on to Renee's story. What do you got?
Stupid. That's what I get.
This is dumb.
Just stupid. Like I read it, the article. I really don't understand what it is, why people even think this.
It's a sanitary pad of some kind.
Yes, which they.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they. The nano pad, which is apparently, it gets summed up with basically rubbing dirt into your vagina will cure you of menstrual pains. It's basically the
cool.
Is that easy?
According to this, yep. Had some.
Tell me more.
I wish I could, but I read it and this was like.
This is so dumb.
This is dumb. There isn't even an element of entertainment in the dumb. I mean, I usually find entertainment in the dumb, but this is basically, they claim some kind of organic, like the minerals of the earth will help you with your menstrual pain, which is bullshit. It's just stupid. It's just fucking stupid.
Sounds like a fundamental misunderstanding of how the human nervous system works.
Yep.
I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of everything. It's just a lot of good marketing because people will buy this.
Like live water.
You know what's really funny about the story?
Water.
You posted this on Brainstorm's group on Facebook, and I commented on it. But I guess all the friends I have, you can then see it that I've commented. So then 2 people from my work who are definitely not atheists commented. Well, one person might be, but the other one definitely not. And they were commenting on how stupid this was. And I thought that was funny. Like that they probably didn't know they were commenting on an atheist podcast. They're from my work.
That's fair. We don't always cover religion.
We appreciate your comments nonetheless.
Skepticism, and this falls well with
feedback is always welcome.
Sometimes we cover Mother's Day.
Sometimes.
That's right.
Just a rant about Mother's Day.
Sometimes Angela gets really ranty.
I have dramatically increased the number of times that the Facebook page posts. So we have a lot more engagement happening lately. So it's good.
So, any rate,
anyway,
so it sums up. I found the actual code. So it basically, the nanogenic technology takes organically occurring earth elements and breaks them into nanoparticles.
I feel like nanogenic is.
You know what? The problem is, every time I read this, all I could think of nanoprobes. You're doing what?
Right.
I've watched
7 of 9.
I've watched enough sci-fi to know that nanoprobes are never a good thing. And if you're putting them on sanitary pads,
well, you had to start the assimilation somewhere.
Well, yeah. I just didn't realize that was how they were going to do it.
Borgina.
Borgina, yeah.
Nice.
Also one of 7.
The collective that rhymes with fun. What?
Also one of 7 and 9 nicknames.
Okay, it took us a long time to get a joke out of that one. That was pretty good.
I worked hard on that in my
That was an excellent joke.
That was well crafted. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Is there anything else for this?
It's still sad.
Just
no,
stupid.
it's just there was if you look at the article, there's an OBGYN who just absolutely ripped it apart. Like it's
Jen Gunter.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it her? Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's just stupid of the utmost.
I think we share a lot of her stuff.
Yeah. Just stupid of the utmost
She's
stupid.
marvelous.
It's for the people that it says it's organic, so it's got to be good. Meanwhile, it does nothing.
It's not sold by Goop?
It will be.
It probably will
Can I
be.
just say that this podcast has totally ruined 5 minutes of Infinity War for me? And Gwyneth Paltrow shows up and I'm just like cringing the whole time. And they're like kissing. I'm like,
Gross.
Well, at least she didn't defeat Thanos with a jade egg.
Oh, that would have been classic.
She's barely in that movie. It's brilliant. It's awesome.
That was the final Infinity Stone with a jade egg.
Where would that fit?
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't fit in the gauntlet.
I could make some really bad jokes, but I'm just going to leave it.
For those
But instead,
Make the jokes.
Well, how do you think Thanos recovered it?
okay, that was a physical motion that I'm not repeating on the air further.
You can repeat it. You just don't have to explain it.
Make a GIF of it. Put it on the Facebook page.
I'll just record Rene doing that again. For that GIF, you got to go to the show notes.
You have to be a patron of our podcast.
Are we actually going to pioneer the audio GIF?
The audio GIF. Yeah.
No, seriously, take our word for it. It was funny.
See, this is why I can't be here till 1 a.m. Because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
Renee's crying now.
Oh, man.
It was a fisting.
And there it is.
Mystery solved.
All right.
Thanos fisting Pepper Potts.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I can't believe
Somebody already animated that.
There's rule.
Probably, yeah.
Detox.
That's rule 34.
Yeah. All right. Lisa, it's your turn.
Oh, good.
Good.
I did notice, by the way, Corey, you were like, oh, by the way, everyone's going to have a lot of stories and a lot of stuff to do. Sorry, guys. And I still only got one story that took about 40 seconds to read, and I really appreciate it. And I'm glad I've calibrated your expectations of me. So I just wanted to, this is all you can expect. Okay. So ScienceAlert.com had a story on May 2nd. Flat earthers think you can't fall off the edge because we live in a Pac-Man world. Oh yeah, and gravity doesn't exist. So the big point is that over 200 flat earthers from all, quote, around the world gathered in Britain for the nation's...
They keep using that word.
Yeah, for the nation's very first Flat Earth Convention. So people are waking up, said the event organizer Gary John. We're seeing an explosion of interest in flat Earth theories and increasing mistrust of governments. So anyways, blah, blah, blah. So one guy, Darren Nisbet, who is also a musician, postulated that we are all living in a Pac-Man world. And what they mean by that is that, you know how when you play the game Pac-Man, young people, just ignore what I'm saying, but old people who remember this, in Pac-Man, he would kind of go around this little maze, this little thing, and then he would disappear from one side of the screen, and then he would just show up on the other side. Right. So we live in some sort of world. Like, so that's the big, like if you ask a flat earther, what happens? How come you don't fall off the edge of the world? Well, one possible answer to that is that as you come off one place, you actually just appear on the other side, like Pac-Man. So,
and when you die, it goes doo 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 doo.
They didn't say that part, but it's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's basically it. Yeah. But apparently he's not the first person to think of the first flat earther to think of this theory. And in fact, people making fun of flat earthers have brought up Pac-Man before as like the explanation for why you don't fall off the edge of the earth. So I don't even know. But anyway, it's just a kind of a funny article.
I prefer the bowl theory.
Yeah. What's that?
Where it's
No, I don't think there's any roundness allowed in flat earth, is there?
No, it is. You're just not allowed to have like a sphere.
Oh, I didn't know. There's no roundness.
It's just not a globe.
Something you can put your shreddies and milk in?
Kinda, yeah. Somehow the ocean goes up.
Slice a banana in there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I imagine a lot of bananas being sliced in that world bowl.
Yeah.
Another part of this article that really kind of grabbed me is that one speaker claimed he had single-handedly proved gravity doesn't exist.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
with one
sticking
hand?
to the ground.
but quote, my research destroys Big Bang cosmology.
He had to cling to the ground with one hand. That's
No,
why.
he says that he supports his theory that gravity doesn't exist and only true force in nature is electromagnetism. So this guy named David Marsh claims this in the Telegraph. I just think it's really funny because I actually did an undergraduate degree in physics and we had a professor who studied general relativity. That was his area of specialty. And every once in a while he'd go into his office and he'd be on the phone and he was such a sweet man and he would actually try to explain things to people.
Oh, no.
So I don't know how, but cranks would get his phone number. And there's not just this one guy. I mean, there are so many cranks out there who think they've disproved Einstein. This is a really common thing that a lot of cranks like to, I don't know, and they don't have any mathematical training really. They really don't know what the hell they're talking about. But he'd call this really sweet man and he would be trying to explain to them why they were wrong. And he's an actual general relativist and he'd actually try to engage them. And this is back, I mean, they're just calling him on the phone and he would have his stacks of journals and he'd be all flustered and we'd walk in and he'd be like, no, I'm sorry. I gotta go now. My students are here, and he'd hang up and then he'd help us. And he was such a sweet man. I just always was reminded of my old professor, Dave Hobel. He was so sweet.
Did he die before the internet? Because otherwise it might have killed him.
He's not old. He's not that old.
Just sweet.
He's maybe 15, 20
I stand
years
by
older
my
than-
statement.
Yeah. No,
At this point, he's had multiple heart attacks, though. Just cannot stand it.
I'm sure he does not engage on the internet with people on this, but people would call his office because these cranks, and it happens. Like everyone I know who does any research in those kinds of fields, they get this kind of crap all the time. Like people send them papers, like how they've disproved.
I created a perpetual motion machine.
It's a thing.
In this house, Lisa, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah, no, that's right. The Skeptics with a K podcast, Michael Marshall and Alice something, Dr. Alice something. She got her PhD recently. They went to this particular conference, actually, the Flat Earth conference thing, and some of the stuff they're reporting back is quite interesting.
Is that right?
Some of the like people that deny the moon exists or that deny space exists. And
you could not pay me enough to go to this conference. Not even no universe. I'd go.
I would totally go.
I would.
I
If it's a free holiday without your kid,
Can I
you're
lay
going
down in
Lisa.
traffic?
If I was like, hey, Lisa,
Suicide is a better option.
5-star hotel,
Suicide
but we
thing?
also have to go to this conference with no kids. You
How
would come
long?
with me. If it was 2 days long,
But how
would
long are we
come.
doing the non-conference stuff?
like
I
half
would
of the
rather
time.
parent than go to this conference. Hey, I mean, come on.
Are you sure?
I think
No,
my
but I'm close.
love of the absurd would find that hilarious.
Like we could be drunk or high the whole time.
Yeah, you're just in the back.
Well, to some degree, you gotta let them do their thing and just write notes and just so you can talk about it later. Because it's like, what else do you do?
Can I do like a John Oliver thing where you interview them and make them look dumb?
You could.
Totally.
Mercer type of deal.
Yes.
Actually, I was watching on YouTube.
We'll go to the psychic fair this year.
It's on today.
Oh,
Is it?
too late?
Did you know they were sold out the
weekend?
moment they started selling tickets?
Is that right?
They printed 694. That's all they needed.
Right.
They already knew.
They knew how many they had.
But I was watching on YouTube. I can't remember what podcast it was, but they actually had Aaron Raw debating with a flat earther.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of funny, actually.
I actually should listen to that.
He's just ruthless.
He can be. Yeah. With creationists, he is. So.
He doesn't give them very long ropes.
All right. I'm going to do my story now from Vox.com, which I know many right-wingers think is a lefty rag. But this story is still pretty good. Donald Trump has continued his trend of putting people in charge of things that embody the exact opposite of the roles they're given by putting Dr. Mehmet Oz on the Council of Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. Yeah.
So you're going to get branded health advice from the government now?
Yes.
Okay, really? Dr. Oz?
Dr.
Yeah,
Oz.
for reals.
Yeah, it was.
I saw
The Great Oz.
Wait.
I saw the Snopes article. They confirmed it.
So here's the thing. I don't know. Like, I think it's Colbert or Seth Meyers. One of them always talks about how you just see somebody on TV and that's who he hires for everything.
Yeah,
like,
I think
this
that's
is,
how it works.
Yes.
This is literally like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually that.
It's
Hey,
the
he's
actual,
doing doctor stuff. He's got a coat and stuff.
You know, eventually what's going to happen is he's going to fire Jeff Sessions and get one of those screamy lawyers as his
Law and
attorney.
Order.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
right
that's
off
right.
of Phoenix Wright?
He's gonna get
what's his
Jimmy
name?
McGill.
No, the guy with the beautiful eyes from Grace and Frankie. The guy who played the lawyer in Law and
Well,
Order
actually,
for so
I was thinking
long.
more along the lines of,
his
I'm a
name?
son of a bitch, but I'll be
Watson?
your son of a bitch.
Oh,
you know, those
no.
kind of lawyers.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Sam
Saul Goodman.
Waterston?
Sam
Jimmy
Waterston. He's going to hire Sam Waterston to be the best.
Even though
To be
he's
the
an
Attorney
actor
General.
that plays a lawyer in Law and Order.
Do you really think Trump
The
can
assistant
distinguish that?
DA.
Trump cannot
No.
tell the difference.
And then
I'm
he's going to get
almost
the
certain of it.
fucking Nobel Peace Prize because he apparently brokered peace in
He
Korea
had-
/ North Korea.
Well, no.
Just, no.
No. That's not the world I live in. That's
Are you putting your head in the sand?
this is
A little
the
bit.
world I live in. It can't happen. It cannot be.
This is the timeline we're in.
I really hope.
Right?
This is the weirdest timeline.
Is there at least a
What, you don't like President Biff?
Of all the alternate
No.
universes.
No, I do not like President Biff.
So my
You think about it,
I'm
you know,
going to go home and cry
they
in the
do
shower.
both have the same hairdo.
Mm-hmm.
removable
I don't know if it's accurate, but I once read that Biff was like
Based on
designed
Trump.
after
Of
Trump.
course he was. The billionaire Biff, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Trump was famous in the 80s.
which
for
is
sure.
freaky, by the way.
But makes sense.
So fuck Dr. Oz.
So fuck Dr. Oz. The council, also Bill Belichick is on the council. Well-known football cheater.
I don't know sport
Diabolical.
things, sorry.
Which sports
Fucking
ball team is that from?
Coach of the
New
Patriots.
England Patriots, yeah.
I have been watching some of the cocky playoffs. That's been fun.
The cocky
cocky-
player.
Fuck off, you assholes. I fucking hate you guys all so much. I can't even know why I come here. You're such jerks.
No.
I only come here to get out of the house. I have nothing else in my life.
I'm pretty sure
Fucking
four of
hate
us.
all you
Four of
fuckers so
us are a
fucking much.
C there instead of an H, Lisa.
your
I
name
might have said
starting
it,
to
but
fade.
I didn't mean to say it that way.
That was so awesome.
Well, it is recorded, so we can find out for sure.
I said it. I fucking said it. I know it's to misspeak. Okay, people misspeak sometimes, especially if you're like when you speak this much. Some of your words are going to be
But you know what?
missaid, and you're going to say cock sometimes.
I say cock all the time. I say cock all the time.
Suddenly I feel like your house is a lot more interesting than I would have thought. I just want to hear Angela wail in the middle of the day when she's really
So
frustrated.
you've been watching the cocky house.
Go fuck yourself.
My kid swears all the time. So fuck Dr. Oz.
Yes. What about this hockey game?
The council was formed
It's
in
cocky.
1956 with the intention to promote regular physical activity and good nutrition. I've got here in my notes that obviously skeptics don't like Dr. Oz because he's a quack.
Well, he himself isn't really a quack. He just provides a platform for them.
Well, he promotes and sells pseudoscientific supplements and nonsense.
I would argue that any actual physician who breaks, who specifically endorses non-evidence-based medicine for his personal gain is a
quack.
bad physician. Like that, a quack. Yeah, that's
Why
awful.
didn't Trump pick Dr. Travis Stark or whatever his name is, the guy that's on the doctors?
He's threatened by his good looks.
That's probably what it is.
It's probably why.
There's like
I'm just really glad he didn't pick somebody from Grey's Anatomy.
Dr. Oz is pretty dashing. I mean, come on.
What?
No, just kidding.
I don't know.
Dave would hit that shit.
Would you? Is that on your celebrity exemption list?
That's on the celebrity exemptions.
I would not play cocky with him. No.
You don't want to accidentally touch his sticks.
Dave, I'm never making you cookies ever again.
I'll bring cookies next time.
That's a mispronunciation that'll linger.
So the Vox article kind of figures that Oz was appointed because he's considered America's doctor. And that Trump saw him on TV as a doctor. And I mean, I really can't dispute that. That's
Can we trade him in
books.
Can we trade him in for Hugh Lowry?
Yes. Let's trade him in for Hugh Laurie.
But I love Hugh Laurie.
Exactly.
Somebody who's,
not
actually a doctor.
That's okay. Trump's not actually a president.
He's very good at playing him on TV. Yeah.
He's just kind of place holding.
Yeah. Fuck.
So most of the people who listen to our show will remember that Dr. Oz was called before a Senate subcommittee on consumer protection in 2014.
Yes.
He was asked questions about the way he promotes pseudoscience and bogus weight loss remedies. And apparently for a little while on his show, that did make an impact. And he did stop promoting those things. But the last few months, he's been back to promoting all the fad diets and bullshit supplements and detox regimens. And honestly, I'm surprised he's not in business with Goop.
Yeah.
The writer for this article, Julia Bellows, I hope I'm saying that right, closes her article with a call for teaching critical thinking so that they can avoid falling for the snake oil salesman and the Dr. Oz's of the world. And yeah, they should be physically active and eat an appropriate amount of calories, but also don't expect too much from your body. And health doesn't mean looking like the skinny people on TV or on Instagram. It means having the right body for you and keeping everything working well.
Damn right.
So get a Fitbit.
Walk every hour.
Trademark. No.
Yeah. 250 steps an hour.
So are they going to make the food babe the head of the FDA?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
Damn
God.
right they are.
Trump doesn't spend a lot of time on the internet. Does she have a TV show?
If she goes on Fox and Friends.
It's not on Fox, then no.
She's on Fox and Friends, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, she
Then he
has
would-
been on TV. So,
But probably just affiliates, maybe.
but she's anti-GMO, so that makes her left, right? Left of the, left wing. So she
Yeah.
wouldn't be politically
that might
on the
be-
right
yeah,
side.
That's true.
That's true.
I don't know too many. Well, maybe there are some anti-GMOers who are on the right side, but
I don't know if that's a
right-wing
right-leaning
political.
thing.
Oh well, Dr.
Not
Oz
sure.
sucks, and Trump's just going to pick someone.
Who sucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. There's just going to be somebody who sucks.
Yep.
All right, let's do fuck you.
Okay.
Still waiting on that heifer, Julio. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.
All right, Rene.
Well, this is a case of fuck you, Alex Jones, which is a kind of a outstanding thing. But apparently, after years of him saying that Sandy Hook was a false thing, a couple parents from Sandy Hook are actually suing his ass
Nice.
for, I believe, what's the charge here? I think defamation is what they're suing him for. They're looking for $1 million in settlement because you can't constantly be saying it's a fake thing and not get consequences.
Well, those parents were getting death threats, and they were getting
death threats and harassed and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, so he's finally getting sued for that, even though apparently he has sort of backtracked now. He's not saying that. I can't remember. There was another article, but basically he's not saying it was a false flag anymore, but somehow the Democrats have taken over the Sandy Hook thing. It's fucking Alex Jones bullshit.
Right. He has to make up for the fact that his president is in charge now.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's weird, because usually Alex Jones is so sensible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
down to earth.
Yeah.
He doesn't fly off the handle at all.
No.
Yeah.
So chill.
I know.
Because, K-Frog
chill.
is a thing.
The supplements are so effective.
Especially his brain supplements.
I love Brain Force Plus. I'm so smart because of it.
Yeah.
Really?
And I'm totally not a soy boy.
So smart. So smart.
All I can think of is the John Oliver thing where they were making fun of him for selling
The taint wipes?
The taint wipes. Anyway.
You can't flush those. I'm telling you right now, you can't fucking flush those.
What's a tape wipe?
Taint.
Oh.
Do you
Makes much more sense.
Do you still need
Space
to know?
between your balls
We
and
use them all.
your asshole.
Well, we use it all the time. It's the perineum, right?
Yeah, the
That's right
perineum
word.
wipes. Yeah.
yeah.
So, at any rate.
We wipe them down all the
much
time.
better.
You can't flush them though.
We sterilize the environment all the time at work.
Yeah.
The taint.
It's good to.
We don't call it taint. We call it the perineum.
Yeah.
You should start calling it.
You should start calling it the taint.
Did you guys start the
Sterilize
taint
the
wiping?
taint.
We could do a taint wiping. We do.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're
it's not like you don't
I
do
fucking
it.
gonna
do
wipe
it.
your taint
I don't
down.
do it. I'm the physicist. Nurse gets to do it, but
Yeah.
we
Is
also
the
have to
person, is the person awake for that?
no. So
They're sedated.
they're under they're under anesthetic. Their
Okay.
legs go up, spread eagle. Okay,
Yeah.
and then we have
Do
to.
they have to finally?
We
go
have
in
to use
stirrups?
a net. Yeah, they're in net. They're in
Okay.
syrup, and we
Okay.
use like a net and tape to like pull their whole scrotum up and tape it to their tummy,
Oh, that's good.
and then
keep it out of the way.
then you can wipe the taint.
Is the net
Do they do it for
reusable?
30 seconds like they do when
No.
you donate blood?
What?
Sterilize the taint.
Takes a while. Yeah, you have to rub it for a while.
Yeah.
You have to rub.
Somehow this entire visual still somehow connects to Alex Jones. It still fits.
Well, we're sticking like 6-inch long needles into their prostate through their taint. So you
Can that
better
be the
hope it's sterile.
sentence?
How are you guys doing? Are you guys clenching? Did it go
I'm laughing
inside?
too hard. I'm laughing too hard.
This is still all somehow this still fits with Alex Jones.
Alex
It
Jones
does.
sells
Yeah,
taint wipes on his
That's because a
website.
highly stressed testicle kind of resembles Alex Jones.
That's true.
And he could probably use a couple 6-inch fucking needles. But anyway, so he's getting sued
Stress testicle?
He's getting sued and they want $1 million in damages, and
Nice.
hopefully they fucking get it
I hope
because
they fucking get it.
the fact is that every one of these. I mean, we've already covered some of the really crazy people that have come out with this stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're harassing the victims and saying it's all bullshit, and
Yeah.
when it's not.
We
Can't even imagine losing a child that way and then having this insult to injury. Even if you weren't getting harassed and stuff. I mean, like, it's just so hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Insane. It's like telling one of the parents of one of the Humboldt Broncos, whatever, that it's all big conspiracy.
Well,
The kid's
there's a
alive.
different conspiracy theory about that.
We
but
got we got a couple very interesting
Really?
comments on our side thorn and granny.
Oh, did we?
What?
Yeah, video.
What now?
Oh, really?
Yeah, what was one of them? It was something like, one was just Sandy hoax! exclamation mark.
Oh.
And the other one was like side thorn and granny, whatever, are just crazy, are just there to make their plants to make investigators of the true conspiracies look bad.
Of course.
So,
Of course. Of course.
yes.
Is that not?
Everything's a
See,
conspiracy.
this is why I used to listen to Alex Jones because I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Right.
But I stopped listening because he would take phone calls.
Right.
And the people calling in were 10 times crazier than he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So despite what he might say in court to get custody of his kids, there are people who don't take this as satire.
No, they
Yeah.
buy it. And there was a woman arrested, sentenced for 5 months in prison for sending death threats to one of these parents from Sandy Hook.
Right.
So, I mean, there's real consequences to this crazy shit. It's one thing to sit there and going, they faked the moon landing. other than you're batshit crazy. I mean, there's not a.
You're still wrong.
You're still wrong, but there's like.
But you're not hurting a parent who lost a child in the worst possible way.
No. Yeah, that's right. And on that depressing note,
fuck you, Alex Jones.
Fuck you, Alex Jones.
Fuck you, Alex Jones.
Is that like our motto?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That is at least one of our mottos.
At least one.
It's one of the tags that we use on
there
our
we
podcast.
Go.
Is it my turn now?
It's Angela's turn.
So apparently, there's some really old things that the Hobby Lobby of all places is a mecca of sorts for crafty people in the States.
They're a terrible organization.
Yes. They're really terrible, and apparently they're more terrible than we had originally thought, because thousands of ancient Mesopotamian artifacts were smuggled by Hobby Lobby. And it was revealed recently that many of the items are from a Sumerian city and a lost Sumerian city. And Hobby Lobby has paid $1.6 million for a cache of more than 5,000 artifacts, including a bunch of tablets and seals and stuff, because the founder of Hobby Lobby, David Green, has opened up a place called Museum of the Bible in DC. And he is smuggling some of these things for his museum. And usually some of these are of dubious authenticity because stolen and fake artifacts are kind of a big market. And
well, on a black market, you don't have nobody to regulate and make sure everything's legit.
Yeah, no one's there to
board.
authenticate it. Exactly. So they're usually, he said the article from Vice.com says that the tablets are pretty much just legal and administrative documents. But
they're
They're
significant.
still artifacts, right?
They're still artifacts.
But they're significant because people, they don't actually know where the site of the city is, and they want to know where they were taken from, because then they would figure out where that city was.
Exactly.
Yeah? But if you don't have real legitimate researchers doing this collection, then you don't have the proper records as to where they came from. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Are these purchased from ISIS-controlled areas? Like, because I know ISIS has made money.
Actually,
well, and that's the other portion of the story too. That, I mean, black market ancient artifacts are a way that ISIS makes money.
Right.
So it's shitty.
It's ironic that this ultra-Christian organization, Hobby Lobby, would give money to the ultra
really is.
Islamic organization.
Maybe they're not
super weird.
And they're buying, in essence, pagan artifacts.
Right.
Yes, but
Maybe.
because it's related to biblical times, right?
I guess, yeah.
Maybe they're not as ultra-Christian as they'd like to make themselves look as far as when their
That's the
arguments
thing.
go.
It's just they're moving the goalposts, though.
Right.
They probably still consider themselves ultra-Christian because for the greater good of proving or like showing the masses these evidence, the evidence of Christianity being a thing.
Old Testament stuff,
exactly. Yeah. They're
right, because these fundamentalists equate the Old Testament and New Testament however they want. And like,
if they got something that's physical, they can go see the Bible's true because this is true.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Are they donating all the proceeds to charity?
No.
Yeah, of course not.
Well, Hobby Lobby's returning.
Oh,
all of
yeah,
the
that's
items,
right.
And will pay an additional $3 million according to a settlement.
Because they got caught.
Yeah.
Because they totally got busted. Yeah.
If nobody busted them,
yeah,
we wouldn't
probably
even
wouldn't
know about
fork out that kind of money.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
They were warned the objects may have been looted specifically from archaeological sites in Iraq. The Islamic State, or ISIS, is known to have prolifically pillaged artifacts from Iraq and Syria.
Yep.
Fuck.
This is why I put this in the fuck you section.
It's really appropriate.
Like, fuck you,
It was
Hobby
the right
Lobby.
place to put it, for sure.
Like, not cool.
God damn it.
I'm glad there's no Hobby Lobbies in Canada.
That's right.
Yeah, there's just fucking Michaels.
We have our own problems. We don't need Hobby Lobby.
That's right.
Michaels exists in the States too.
All right. Brandon, it's your turn.
Cool. This is kind of a weird article you gave me here, Cory.
Yeah.
This British, I'll kind of give you the cliff notes here first. This British philosopher wrote a book regarding what he considers the 7 types of atheists. And it's not like breaking down different degrees of disbelief so much as what motivates you in your disbelief. Yeah. The philosopher's name is John Gray. And apparently he thinks the majority of atheists, they suck. I think that's kind of a weird.
What?
Yeah.
Not the ones named Angela, though, right?
Especially the ones named Angela.
She wasn't named in the article, but I assume she might fall under one of the categories.
She was alluded to for sure.
Maybe. So apparently, insists that the modern non-belief is a far more strange and subtle business than compared to what atheists would otherwise go with. He wrote a book called The 7 Types of Atheism. It explores the variety of disbelief. And so he kind of broke it down into different categories. The more confrontational types, i.e. the Harrises and Dawkins.
Yes.
And the weirder ones where it gets into stuff like meditation and drug use, kind of.
So also Harris.
Definitely.
I'll take your word for it, Lisa.
Oh, he talks about it all the time.
Okay.
Like LSD and whatnot. Yeah.
So he cited the idea that there are atheists who replace faith in God with faith in science, which I think is a little bit iffy as far as the definition of atheism goes.
That's a stupid assumption on the part of religious people that we believe in science as a replacement for religion.
Yeah. The trouble is that there are people who adhere to a kind of thinking about the world that doesn't allow for any kind of nuance or changing of minds. And it's called like there is a philosophical view called scientism.
Yeah.
Right. And it is a flawed way of thinking. But to put a bunch of atheists into that group just because you think that they belong there seems misguided.
But faith is also believing in something without proof for it. And science is the opposite of that, because I think that science is probably the best way to go about getting to the truth, since it's been the best method so far, and there's lots of evidence to support that that's a good way to do it, which is the opposite of faith.
Right. Yeah. I think that the problem with like scientism is that it often isn't scientific.
I don't know what scientism is.
Yeah. It's like
not cool.
It's almost like a
science has a dogma rather than a methodology.
Yeah, it's not even necessarily science as a dogma so much as like adherence to conclusions, whether the evidence is there or not. Like
that's not science.
It is a very rigid way of thinking that. Yeah, exactly. It's scientism, not scientific thinking, is what it is.
Amusingly, the guy apparently cites one of his problems with atheism, that the way it opposes religion is that it looks at religion like a version of science for explaining the world as is. He takes the idea that religion was always much more allegorical than it was portrayed as. And whether or not that's true, that's one thing.
Right. Interestingly enough, I mean, I know plenty of atheists who view religion as a allegorical type filter for the world rather than a strict literal scientific explanation of it.
It's hard to say whether or not, given the lengths that people went to in their beliefs at the time, or even now, whether or not they would consider it allegorical.
Right.
Like there's all sorts of allegories we have today that we don't treat in the same way that religions are treated.
No, that's right.
Apparently, another one of the types of atheists he cited were God haters.
Well,
that does seem to be a whole thing. Like there's a whole
have to be real for me to hate him, though.
But there's a whole slew of arguments. Like I remember hearing an old debate between Hitchens and Tony Blair, where Hitchens argues that religion is a force for bad in the world, and Blair argues that it's a force for good. And it's it doesn't it's interesting, but it doesn't really speak to whether or not there's a God, right? It only, like, even if religion is bad, religion can be bad and there can still be a God.
Right.
Right. So it doesn't work as an argument for why there is no God.
And vice versa.
I think there's...
But I do feel like there's a lot of atheists who are motivated that way. They're like, oh, I grew up in the Catholic Church and I fucking hate the church, so now I'm an atheist. Like, well, that's actually not
necessarily a good reason to be an atheist, but yeah. I think that there is something, like, I do dislike Darth Vader, to speak to your point about hating God, but even though he's not real. Like, I don't like the character of Darth Vader or Kylo Ren.
Or the Lannisters.
I hate the Lannisters.
What about Tyrion?
Tyrion's good.
Okay.
Tyrion's like the one good one.
Even Jaime has like good qualities. Even Cersei has
we
good
didn't
qualities.
like him, but now we like Jaime Lannister.
I still don't like Jaime Lannister.
I mean, Cersei's a strong woman. I don't care.
He's still pretty self-serving.
He still raped his sister.
He's still raped his sister.
Cersei isn't in a lot of ways, though. Like,
She kicks ass.
She does, but I'm glad she got kind of like, I don't know.
She's getting her revenge, though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't like her.
I love to love. I don't know.
But anyway, my point is that I can hate a fictional character and still think that they're fictional.
Yeah, or know they're fictional.
Yeah. And the fact is that, I mean, if God, the character, does the things that many Christians attribute to that character, it's reasonable to hate that character.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what he's been written to do.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I think it's okay to hate Tywin Lannister.
Well, I didn't realize we had to qualify that.
Cory almost
it was almost Clamata.
Hold on. It's okay to hate.
News bulletin from Lisa.
Joffrey.
Back to cocky.
Fuck that guy.
Everyone hates Joffrey. Sure.
Joffrey's an easy character.
Not officially a Lannister, but
He's at least half.
It wasn't his fault he had mental
full
health
Lannister. There is no.
Fuck you, Dave.
Empathetic Dave.
He was an inbred child.
Joffrey is totally full Lannister.
Oh yeah, I know, but not technically a Lannister. He was a Baratheon. If you looked him up in the records, he'd be recorded as a Baratheon.
Right, because they don't have gene testing. The bastard or the inbred.
Because he was officially the son of King Robert.
Robert was afflicted by like decades of whiskey dick.
He fucked around all the time.
Well, they didn't have genetic testing back then. That's the thing.
There's no back then. This is a different world. This could be in the future.
Well, they still didn't have genetic testing. They were using swords. I'm sorry, they don't have genetic testing.
I'm just saying, of all the Lannisters, you can definitely hate Tywin without. I mean, everyone's got to hate him. Who likes him? He can butcher a deer. That's good, I think.
Also, apparently done live, by the way. But
anyway.
So there's two more types of atheists we'll go through here in a moment.
Oh, there's an article.
Thank you, Lisa. I listened to your article.
Hers was easy.
It was easy. Thank you, Cory.
There's apparently what he considers as atheists, so without any faith in progress, which I think he might be confusing for nihilists.
Yes,
but he cites Joseph Conrad as an example, which I believe is the guy who wrote Heart of Darkness.
No idea.
And the last one he talks about is the mystical kind of atheism, which kind of goes further down the rabbit hole. It's the way he describes it as kind of like the transcendental meditation types who are Buddhist but not theist Buddhist.
Interesting.
You already had that type with the meditation and the drugs.
I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm just saying it's kind of weirder.
Even weirder.
So not really a full 7, though.
There's room for debating as to whether or not which ones qualifies what.
Okay. I mean, I saw a lot of articles about this because John Gray wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
And all the Christian websites are sharing it and writing about it. And they're all like, oh, look at all the different types of atheists and they're bad and and that's the reason I put this under fuck you, because fuck John Gray.
You know what? He did the one thing. I don't know much else about him, so I think it's a little harsh to.
He's done some other stuff, and this in itself is actually, I think, like from an outside perspective, he's characterizing atheists in these ways because he sees the world through his faith.
That's right.
And
apparently, he's a non-believer.
He's always been a Christian in his previous writing.
Well, if I'm just checking here, but I thought it said something about him being a non-believer. This is pardon me, my dead air.
That's fine. I'm just like, to characterize atheists in these 7 groups. It's like I can characterize Christians into X number of groups, or I can characterize any group of people into certain number of groups and just say you fit into this category because I want you to. And he's not an anthropologist who's studied the culture the subculture of the atheist movement or the atheist community. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
So to me, he's just a dude with an opinion who kind of figured, you know what? I'll make some money fucking writing a book saying bad shit about atheists.
I guess the problem is that he suffers from the same thing as any group is. Atheism is essentially a one note definition.
Right. Yeah.
You don't believe in God,
or
a God, or gods, or etc.
Yeah.
Like that's gay gods. Is that like cocky?
Yeah, she's got you.
She's got you.
There's got to be at least one gay god.
You're digging for that one.
There's got to be at least
one.
I'm
still
gay
bitter
god.
about the cocky thing.
Cocky was so obvious. It's
gay gods.
There.
Only the best gods are gay.
That's true.
Best dressed gods.
The thing is that just like any other, it's the same thing as just about anything else. Is where you can say that you can lump all people who do one thing into a group, but then you break it down. Like these aren't subtypes. Like you don't have to have an atheist card and with different endorsements if you're in that group.
Yeah.
Well, he was the guy that wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Right.
And then all of the spin-offs that came from that. And I mean, people like lists. People like categories.
All the clickbait on the internet, it's a fucking list.
Lists,
yeah.
yes.
You won't believe in number 7.
Exactly.
Guess what drugs are involved?
People like self-help books that are like, this is the type of personality you are. Okay. That's why people still look at their horoscope. That's why people, they enjoy these things. And so that's what he's trying to do. And maybe, he's capitalizing on the people whose kids are atheists or spouse or whatever. And he's gonna comfort them a little bit by getting them to explain, pinpoint what kind of atheist their husband is.
Yeah, that's the trouble, with that kind of pseudo psychology, right? Like they want to group you into a thing and say, okay, well now I understand the type of person you are.
Yeah.
Well, the kicker is when I read this article, I had some agreement with some of the points in it,
right?
But I didn't file myself under any one of them.
Yeah, and I think that's easy. That's an easy thing. This is written for Christians. I mean, whether the author calls himself a non-believer or not, this is written for Christian audiences, right? So John Gray is writing these things and so then Christians can say, oh, well, you're that type of atheist.
Yeah,
you're that type of atheist. I can shuffle you into these boxes. And meanwhile, no atheist fits into any one of these categories necessarily, right?
It's not to say that it isn't accurate to say some atheists are or lack faith in progress.
Yeah.
There's also the ones that
people lean in certain ways.
And there's true anti-theists out there who are also atheists. Some of these factors do exist.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's a strict category system or can be at all used for it is debatable.
In a way, it reminded me very much of the Myers-Briggs personality test.
That's what
sorry, nobody's one thing.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
You know what, though? Even more, you could hate the Boltons. Do you know what I mean? Like
Red Wedding.
like Ramsay Bolton,
Yeah.
Bruce Bolton. There's nothing to like there. Like you can go full Bolton hatred. And that's like I won't
That's
even.
true.
It's Ramsay Snow.
No, his father makes him a non-bastard.
Yeah.
What the
He
fucking
didn't,
shit,
he didn't
dude.
deserve that.
Because he tortured enough
doesn't deserve
people,
a
so he
name.
got his real
That's why
kid
you
card.
fucking see it. You can hate him. It's totally okay. There's no
Agreed.
gray area there.
No, agreed.
Thank you.
Except in the castle. Pretty gray.
All right. Thank you, Brandon, for that story. Let's move on to some science.
If you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon. It works, bitches.
Yes, science!
Can I just say, it sounds like he's saying if you base medicine on science, you kill people. And he says cure people, but
it's not
kill
just
people.
for
It
that
sounds
one.
like that. Anyways,
Medicine.
every time he says that, I'm like,
Medicine.
Well, you could kill
medicine,
people.
you kill people.
could.
Yeah, I know. But he's saying cure. It's just this weird British thing. Anyway.
Diabolical,
it depends on your goal.
Yeah, it depends on your, maybe it's assisted suicide.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
it depends on your goal.
Weirdo accent.
So, all the British people who listen to this show, all six of you.
I've been watching a lot of British shit on Netflix.
Is that right?
It's been a good ride.
Right on.
I heard Crave has a good British presence.
Really?
Mm.
I got through I was watching all about hidden houses and
Fucking love that shit.
castle secrets. And
Neat.
Need to watch Sherlock.
I even looked at fucking real estate, the UK.
Sorry, Corey.
No, that's fine.
Ramshackle castle stuff.
I'm just waiting for the opportunity to talk about Doctor Who. So, since it didn't come, I guess I'll talk about my article. Sciencenews.org. Rising CO2 levels might not be as good for plants as we thought.
What?
Yes. A long-term experiment finds that surprising flip in the rules for plant photosynthesis. A 20-year experiment in Minnesota found that a group of plants that initially grew faster when fed more CO2 stopped growing faster after 12 years. This experiment was done by 4 scientists working for 3 different universities. So they talk about 2 different kinds of plants and the way that they respond to CO2. Around 97% of the plant species, including trees, use a method labeled as C3 photosynthesis, which gets its name from the 3 carbon molecules it produces. The remaining 3% of plants use a method called C4, and those are mostly grasses and various kinds of, various kinds. Both processes feed plants by taking carbon dioxide from the air, but C4 plants use it more efficiently so they don't consume as much. The idea that C3 plants take in more CO2 when there's more in the air and thus grow faster has been the standard way of looking at things for a long time. There are many experiments to support this standard model of doing things. But this new study shows that after a certain length of time, plants no longer produce or use CO2 in as efficient of a way.
Oh.
Yeah, which kind of speaks to climate change to some degree. Like, if we constantly have a higher level of CO2 in the atmosphere and plants are using extra amounts and growing extra fast, but after a certain amount of time, they stop doing that. So then they aren't using as much. Like, it's almost like extra CO2 is good for them up to a point, but then after that point, it isn't good for them anymore.
I mean, like oxygen, there's such a thing as too much oxygen.
Right. Yeah, there's such a thing as too pure of oxygen or whatever, right? Like, you can't just breathe in pure oxygen all the time. Our systems aren't really made for that. And these plants apparently according to this particular study, stop growing at the accelerated rate when they have this extra CO2 after 12 years.
Huh.
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one of the key points in the pro-carbon lobby.
Yeah, that's right. Like
stuff will grow faster.
Yeah. This is a thing that plants need all the time. And yet, they still need it.
Yeah.
But they're not using this extreme amount that we're putting into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is just one study, and they talk about how one should look at these results in a very cautious way, and you should always look for more study. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's interesting anyway.
Yeah, like the carbon levels in the atmosphere, like if you think about it, the plants are getting along just fine with the prior levels.
Right. Then you increase the levels and they grow faster for a while,
mm-hmm.
but then they stop.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they don't need a significant that much more carbon. And so that makes it sound exactly like what they're trying to do is make it just like, no, it's okay. It's good for the environment.
They, let's see, this says, so it was a 20-year study done at the Cedar Creek Ecosystem Science Reserve in Minnesota. They grew both C3 and C4 grasses in 88 different plots. They pumped CO2 into half the plots to increase the concentration of it in the air to 180 parts per million, which is about 50% more CO2 than was in the ambient air at the beginning of the experiment, and amounts to double the pre-industrial age levels of CO2 in the normal atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, after the experiment followed the usual behavior, the expected behavior for about 12 years. And then after 12 years, the pattern reversed. And for the next 8 years, the C3 plants, which usually use more CO2, ended up using less and growing slower. So they didn't even grow at pre-extra CO2 rates.
Well, that's not good.
I wonder if this could also be taken as an argument to increase the number of plants, right? Because this is for a given number of plants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just add more CO2; those plants can't handle it. But you know, which I think is also an environmental stance to say, well, increase the number of trees or green spaces or whatever. You know,
I think that's something that I mean, you can't always put a lot of stock into TED Talks, but I saw a TED Talk that specifically talked about like increasing the amount of green area in deserts because it would increase the CO2 consumption of the world. So, I mean, nobody seems to be investing in that, but
yeah,
that came out about at least 5 years ago. So, but I mean, I kind of feel like we should be planting more grass in areas, and we should be trying to do something. I think
grass is one of the least efficient plants.
It is.
It's a bad plant. It's
Yeah.
We use it in North America as a way to cover our lawns, but it's actually a very water intensive, very not very robust. Like the plants are, I don't think grass is the plant we want to go
especially
with.
the way that we do it in North America and with our lawns, because we pump fertilizer into it and we cut it constantly.
It's just
and
not.
Actually, I mean, for all one thinks of Penn and Teller's bullshit, there was a lot of good episodes. Yeah. And they did one on lawns and how bullshit lawns were. And Freakonomics did it too, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. I was trying to remember which podcast I heard that on. You're right. I gotta listen to that one more often. I like that podcast.
And Malcolm Gladwell did one on golf greens.
Oh, that was fascinating. But that was more from the perspective of like zoning and city.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was really cool.
But it seems to show like the way we treat grass in North America is the wrong way to do things.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. That Freakonomics one is really good.
Yeah.
That's the one.
All right. Angela's turn.
I got the meaty one.
The meaty one.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, you did too.
You would.
What can I say? I like meat. So the CDC updated autism statistics. That's a hard word to say when you're tired. And the title of the article states that it's not an epidemic and it's not caused by vaccines.
All right.
So
that's shocking.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Right. So on April 27th of this year, the CDC released new statistics on autism incidents in the USA. Now, it's gone up since 2014.
Okay.
No, that's incorrect. It's gone up since 2002. In 2014, 1 out of every 59 children has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. But in 2002, the numbers were 1 in 52. Or 1 in 152. So it's gone up significantly. And naturally the anti-vaccine mob will be like, but you guys, there's so much autism. But
the funny thing is that vaccine's been around for decades.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't expect
Vaccines,
a dramatic increase.
Precisely.
It's the same vaccine. It hasn't changed in a long time.
All of the vaccines are effective and they don't.
But it's the MMR vaccine in particular that they say causes it. But it's like that. It's been around for a long time.
But stacks and stacks of studies have been done to prove that there's no correlation there.
No, there isn't. But I'm just saying it doesn't even make sense because.
Yeah.
It makes way more sense. The best explanation for it would be that it's just getting diagnosed more.
Oh, Lisa, sense is for scientists.
That's
so
true.
So there's certain things.
Damn your Occam's razor.
Right. There's certain things about this new finding that are a little bit puzzling. Specifically, New Jersey has the highest incident of ASD, while Arkansas has the lowest. And the writer of the article is asking if it's because New Jersey has more autistic children. No. It's just that New Jersey ranks 12th and Arkansas ranks 49th on the list of healthcare quality. So there's more testing.
And more diagnoses.
And more diagnoses. There's also a gender disparity. Boys are diagnosed more than girls.
Interesting.
And white children are diagnosed sooner than children of color.
I feel like that might be another problem with that one.
There seem to be, it's
probably an access to healthcare thing.
It's an access to healthcare thing because the 2002 report stated that 1 in 42 boys and 1 in 189 girls were diagnosed with ASD. And that was a 4.5 to 1 ratio.
Seems like a very strange. It seems like a very strange ratio to me. I don't know.
Yeah, but this article goes on to say that there is substantial evidence that significant gender bias leads to a remarkable underdiagnosing of autism in girls and women. Because there's a lot of
expected behaviors that you'd normally use to diagnose autism are different.
Or it could be gender expectations, right? Or even how, like, if a girl is acting in a way that doesn't bother anyone, even if it's abnormal, she might not get a diagnosis. Whereas if a boy is acting in a way that
doesn't bother anyone,
manifesting in a way that is making it more difficult for his teachers or his parents, or whatever, it might get looked into more. It just makes her really quiet and not say anything. Great, perfect. Who needs to look into it? It's just
perfect.
Yeah,
that's exactly what people expect from girls.
Silent, or if it just tends to manifest in girls in a different way, that's like easier to manage without needing a diagnosis. I mean, as a parent, you're not going out looking for all this stuff unless you need it.
It also could be the potential could be subject to the Y chromosome.
Maybe.
No.
I find it's probably my bias, but I find the social expectation explanation very, very likely. It could be my bias, but I find that very.
Well, and the thing is, you can effectively treat autism with early interventions, which are behavioral.
Right.
There's no medication for it. But you can change the course, not fully,
the way that
but
it
you
manifests.
you can help people with autism.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I mean, this is also in addition to 1 in 38 Americans being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. and 1 in 15 has a major depressive disorder.
Has that spiked since 2016?
Wait, so there are less people with autism than there are people with bipolar?
Probably.
Is
Bipolar
that
is
what
really common. It's a type
1
of
in 38
depression.
versus 1 in 59.
Yeah.
Okay.
So more people with bipolar disorder than with.
Right.
That doesn't surprise me.
So, and I mean, it's just, there's better diagnostic procedures.
Mm-hmm.
And there's better healthcare access.
And more willingness to talk. I mean, like, do you remember when you were a kid? I mean, in growing up in the 80s, like, you go to school. I mean, Jesus, that kid's just weird.
Yeah.
And gets sent to the principal's office or sent in the hallway all the time. Like, there's nothing else. Like, there's no thought about why they're acting that way or.
That's right.
Yeah, it was like ADHD too. Like,
same deal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was just becoming
It wasn't
prevalent.
a thing to think of it that way.
Yeah. I was just in high school when I learned about that for the first time. But it's an interesting.
Yeah, like I was basically an adult before that stuff was considered.
Yeah.
Cory's looking back on his school life.
Wow. There was a lot of kids that like got really the shaft, I think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're not supported in a way. Sometimes you can make just very minor accommodations for a kid with issues like that, and they can fully participate. You just need to get, like, my kid, they got him a little rocking chair for his class, and he just, I don't know, he fidgets in the rocking chair, and it allows him to participate better.
Right.
So easy, low cost, no, it doesn't hurt anybody. And rather than yelling at him all the time or whatever, I mean, that's a much more humane way of dealing with his different way of thinking.
Absolutely.
His non-neurotypical way of thinking.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's actually the language you hear, like, amongst autism and ADHD.
Actual.
Yeah,
like,
you talk. You hear about the difference, like the way that the autism or your ADHD brain thinks versus how neurotypical people.
That was one of the things when we talked to Gleb that struck me as odd is the characterization of critical thinkers as non-neurotypical.
I thought that was interesting because typically it is used in terms of like, autism, ADHD, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Like specific mentally different ways of processing things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
interesting.
don't know if it's wrong. It's just, it's different.
Yeah, it's just
Not something
different.
I've heard before. Yeah.
I
mean, I think this undercuts how difficult population-based studies are. You have, like, I mean, a huge part of my PhD was about this with respect to galaxies, but basically it doesn't matter. If you're going to do statistics on a group of anything, galaxies or people, you have to start with a representative sample, and you have to make sure that you're gathering everything, right? You can't, if your selection function is biased, you're going to have biased results.
That's right.
So if you're looking at how diagnosis of ADHD over time, if you're not, if the diagnostic procedures for figuring out if somebody has this have been evolving over time, it's really going to be impossible to tease any information out of that data. It's just not, it's not how populations studies work.
To find something statistically significant, it's
well, you have to have everything else be controlled, and you have to be able to tease out the thing you want. It's very challenging to do, especially in human populations, because it's difficult to do this work in an ethical way. But in any event, you can't. Anyways, it's very difficult to make conclusions that aren't biased. There are some
isolate all
there.
these things. Isolate that.
Yeah. It's subtle. And then there's subtleties too that you might not even think about, et cetera, et cetera. It's not easy.
No.
Heck no. So yeah, that's my story.
Perfect. All right. Oh. I've got a couple notes about upcoming episode releases because my schedule is going to be a bit hectic for the next couple weeks. First, obviously, this came out Tuesday morning, as per the new schedule. On this Friday, I'll put out another rebroadcast from the Hardcore Skeptic series. I have been delayed in putting out a new episode of that, and I hope that will change soon, but for now, that series is on the back burner. On Tuesday the 29th, I will release the second of our Rec Table sessions from the May 11th recording. I'm going to do some extra shifts at work, and I will need a few extra days to work on the audio from our May 25th live show. So with some luck, everything will still be on schedule, just with a few adjustments. You'll still get your Brainstorm content, and I'm satisfied that I've put something out on time. Thanks to everyone who listens, and thank you for your patience. Things get a bit wild when I start working extra shifts, and it's nice to be able to work around that. And the summer's also going to get a bit weird. Our release schedule is hopefully going to be okay. My family's always off for the summer because the kids aren't in school, and my partner is a teacher, so she's off for the summer. So I'd like to focus on my time with them during the summer. I think that I really need to focus on my family a lot, and that might hurt the speed that the podcast comes out. I hope to stick to a decent once-a-week schedule for the summer, and that might mean that for the time being, Rec Table sessions will be for patrons only. But I'm still figuring out my plan for that. For everything else, you can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Stephanie, Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Bassett, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Bob Glenn, Destin Doesn't Suck That Much, Magnus, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave, Positively Skeptical, Rob, and perhaps you now. If you want to be a patron, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can also support us by donating to our GoFundMe for the conference or by buying some gear from our TeePublic store. You can join us every second week when we broadcast live on brainstormradio.net. Our next show is May 25th, as I mentioned, and our guest is Bob Nygaard, a guy who investigates psychics, also known as a psychic investigator. Thanks to Dave Roman for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from the Embrace the Void podcast for doing the new voiceover for our intro. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.